بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. حياكم الله جميعا. Good to see you again. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who always meet in goodness and advise each other in doing goodness and sharing the goodness, inshallah ta'ala. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll go over the third evidence used for Allah's existence. It is called Dalilul Hidayah. Dalilul al-Hidayah. The proof of guidance, or the guidance argument. The guidance argument. Of course, as we have covered earlier, that the first argument, the argument of creation, right, and causing existence, it is a fascinating evidence for Allah's existence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once we go into more types of arguments and evidences, we are adding more proofs that leaves no room but for mankind to come to a conclusion that there is a creator for this humongous universe. So the second proof, it talks about the perfection of Allah's creation. After it existed, still there is great evidence in the perfection of these creatures that speaks that there is a perfecter who had caused it to come into existence. And today we'll talk about a third level, that these creatures who are fascinating in their existence, their biological nature, their cosmological nature, they are also guided. They are also guided. They know how to run their lives, right? How to run their existence. They know how to sustain themselves. They know how to provide for themselves. They know how to reproduce and procreate and carry on their existence and taking care of their existence, their offspring, their children, and so on. So this issue, it is clearly seen and observed in the creation around us. When the Pharaoh asked Musa alayhi salam, and his question was trying to mock Musa alayhi salam in his call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said, فَمَنْ رَبُّكُمَا يَا Musa? Who is your Lord, O Musa? Musa responded to him, رَبُّنَا الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى. Rabbuna, our Rabb, is the one who have given everything he created its nature, how it looks like, and then he guided it. So he guided this creature how to run his life, how to survive. And certainly such an issue, once you see it in every creature in a totally different manner, this raises a great question. Who guided this inanimate creature, right? A creature who has, from day one of birth, still does not know any, he did not acquire any knowledge or any information or any experience, right, in order to behave in a such manner. Then who instilled this issue on every creature who has, we have, like they say, there are more than or around 2 million species of creatures. Imagine 2 million species. Each species has billions in number. So each creature of these 2 million species have its way, its own peculiar way, right, of operating and running its life, subhanAllah. So how can we not see this? How can we ignore such matter and say, no, we are only caused by coincidence. There is no creator whatsoever. So those who deny Allah's existence, when you come and ask them, طيب, who is the cause for this guidance that we see in every creature? They throw at you, they say this is done by evolution, by the Darwinian mechanism, right? And this is a very broad, audacious statement to throw. But this mechanism that you're claiming, I mean, are you really? Is this science what you're uttering? Is this scientific what you're uttering? It has nothing to do with science. Not proven scientifically. They don't have any scientific process that speaks clearly that how life started on Earth. They don't have it. It's mere, wallahi, it's like khurafat, myths. I mean, when you listen to some of the superstitious people and how they throw myths at you and all that, science today in claiming evolution is the cause of life is doing the exact same thing. They don't have no scientific evidence whatsoever that this is how life started. They don't know how life started. Remember I talked to you earlier about the primordial soup they claim, that they say at the early existence of Earth and the universe, some 500 million years ago, they say gases and energy came together and they caused the first living cell by coincidence. Imagine this. Is this proven scientifically? No. How do you come to such conclusion? They must come with something like this in order to support their atheist stance. But the science support what you claim, because you guys claim, those atheists, that we believe in science. Science is the mean to prove everything to us, therefore we don't need God. Well, your most important tenet in atheism, knowing life, how life started, you did not present any scientific proofs for that. It's a mere claim, not supported by any evidence whatsoever. So this is pseudoscience what they're doing. Exactly, it is pseudoscience. But sadly they're using this and they're fooling so many people. Especially when they go and teach such matter at their academia and major educational institutes, that this is how it started. Life started through Darwinian mechanism, through evolution. Look how broad this statement is. Is it supported by any scientific experiments or excavations? None whatsoever. None whatsoever. So seriously, in order to appreciate life and understand how much guidance every creature has, let us take some examples and then we'll speak how the Darwinian evolution has no ground whatsoever. It is almost the last, what do you call it?
Straw?
No, thing that you hang on to save yourself from sinking. What do you call that? The tube that you put around yourself to save yourself from drowning. This is the last thing that they're holding to in order not to drown. And they are using it to deceive so many people because they make it sound as if it is scientific when it's not. Really, when it's not. Like I said, today, Western academia, when you look to their position in some of the social matters, biological matters, and how much they are using deception to convince people that this is the correct stance, that we mentioned the issue of homosexuality. Those atheists today, they are having the position that this is a normal phenomenon. For a person to change his biological nature to become a male or a female, or for a male to marry a male or a female to marry a female, they say this is a normal phenomenon. Therefore, science supports that. So this tells you how much these people are so biased in their stance, right? And they are doing so much deception. These exact same guys who are claiming that atheism is the right stance and that there is no God and that science, according to them, supports that. When we see clearly that they are deceiving people and they are using the banner of science to add more deception to people and to misguide people, subhanAllah. But seriously, if you just hold a person about an issue and you ask him, you guys claim that there is no creator. How did life start about? He will say to you, it's through evolution. But what is evolution? You guys are scientists, right? Show me through experiment that you can start a single cell. You can cause a single cell, like life starts by a single cell, by coincidence. So show me a proof that in experiment that life started by a single cell. How can you form and cause a single cell through science and experiment to make it come to existence? They don't have any evidence whatsoever. Again, it's just a word thrown in the air, and they make it sound scientific by throwing some jargons at you to make it look like, oh, he's so scientific, therefore I cannot stand against him in argument. Wallahi, they are empty. Because they claim science proved everything, then you prove to me through science that the cow became a whale. Because they claim that, or the whale became a cow. Because this cell, they say, it started in water, right? And then all of a sudden, it became more creatures. And then all of a sudden, one of the creatures decides, by coincidence, to become a land animal. And then all of a sudden, that land animal decides to fly. And he became a bird. They are playing, wallahi, games in a very silly. If you tell a bad story to a child of a such nature, wallahi, he'll laugh at you, wallahi. But those people, because of the great deception they're using and claim it is scientific, they make it sound as if this is acceptable. There was a documentary, a guy asking university students, what's your stance in the existence of this multitude of species that we see around us? They said this is through natural selection. We study this, science proven this, and therefore this is our position. Almost by consensus, all of them are saying this, college students. And then later on at the end of the video, after he made them all confess that we are a product of evolution, he said, okay, show me one evidence that a species changed to another. Like a bird became a fish, or an ape became a human being, or so on. Give me one example. All of them, they just paused forever. Did not bring anything. Then he told me, then science, and he even talked to some of the atheist instructors in that university who are teaching Darwin evolution theory. And they themselves did not bring any evidence. When they were, some of them tried to deceive you, and they say, well, look to some bird, its bill became longer, or its color changed. He said, this is not evolution. This is not changing from one species to another. I'm asking you to present to me a proof that there is a species that's changed to another species. And they failed to do so. And some of them uttered clearly that, well, looks like we need to reevaluate what we have studied. Subhanallah. So this is how they are deceiving people. Subhanallah. So again, let us go through some of the creatures that we see around us and how they run their life in a fascinating manner. Subhanallah. One of the Arabic scientists who was an atheist, his name is Fadil al-Samurai from Iraq. He specialized in Arabic language. This guy today, mashallah, is doing lots of work in showing the balagha of the Quran. That really fascinates whomever reads his thesis and his work on that. So when he was asked about how was he guided to the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Islam, he said, well, I was reading one of the books about the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I read about a type of mosquitoes. And this type of mosquitoes excretes from its body like a spider web whenever it's going to give to lay eggs, okay? And it forms like a small boat and places its eggs in that tiny boat on the river. And the eggs and the boat go away along the river, and that tiny creature, the mosquito, dies after that, after it gives birth. So these tiny eggs, they go away, and later on when they grow up, they do the same process. They excrete this spider web-like strings, form a boat, lay their eggs on that boat, and they die. He said, who taught them this? They did not see their mothers. They all went to a different region together. No mother around them to take care of them and to teach them how to operate in such manner. He said, this is really something which triggers a sane person's mind. That there is someone who placed within that tiny creature how to operate its life. And he mentioned a story for another atheist who became a Muslim. He said that atheist, he said he took eggs for sea birds like ducks, and he placed a chicken egg with them. When all the eggs hatched, he said the ducks went to the water pond. The chicken went to the farm. It did not join them. They were the majority, right? He said almost 30. All of the ducks went to the water pond. The chicken did not follow them. He said, who thought that chicken that you don't fit in this place and this is not the right place for you? So this guidance, who placed it inside these creatures, whom to us they are not with intellect, right? They don't have skills, they don't have prior experience to be able to decide and see for themselves. From day one, they know what they do. Another fascinating creature is the kangaroo. The kangaroo, when it gives birth to a baby kangaroo, it comes in the size of almost a jelly bean. Very tiny. And it crawls and climbs along the belly of the mother until it reaches the pouch and goes inside on its own. Mother is not helping it. Why is it doing that? Because this is where it should stay for the remaining 9 months maybe. And inside there, it's sustenance. It can breastfeed from the mother until it grows inside the pouch and then comes out. But this tiny creatures, knowing its way on its own, without the mother picking it up and placing it inside the pouch, on its own, moving a very big distance, subhanahu wa ta'ala, blindly into the pouch, goes where its sustenance is kept for it until it grows. Who taught this tiny creature? How can you biologically explain such matter, right? Biology, Darwinian mechanism speaks about molecules working with each other, cells working with each other, but who plays this extra information? It talks to you about the genes, how the genes works, how the DNA works, and so on. But this information, who placed it? This is an additional level, right? To know how biologically things work, this is one thing. But to know the information inside these creatures and how they behave, this is another level. It has nothing to do with biology, subhanAllah. So, to those people, we say every existing creature has a story that speaks clearly that there is a creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It cannot be something that came by coincidence. Especially when we see multitude of creatures, every creature has his own fascinating way of running his life, subhanAllah. Also another amazing creature is the mosquito. The mosquito, subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you see it, how it provides for itself, how it operates, it fascinates you. This tiny creature, it has a thermal infrared system to help it see the prey in the darkness of the night. We are sleeping, it's dark, nothing is seen. That mosquito can see us, knows where we are, right? And from there, it goes to the next step. Which one amongst us to choose to be its prey? Maybe you are 9 people sleeping in the room, it chooses only one person, it spends the entire night feeding on his blood. Subhanallah. So how does it do that? This tiny creature, it has the straw that it has an anesthetic system where before placing its needle into your skin, it anesthetizes the area where the needle is going to go in. So once it puts the needle there, you don't feel anything. When do we feel the pain? When it's gone. the needle is out and the mosquito is away, then we feel the pain. So this is to secure its process of drawing the blood, subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that tiny creature. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it shows us every creature what are the mechanism it uses to secure its food, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it does it in a manner which is fascinating. At the same time, can save itself from being harmed and so on. So not only that, this tiny creature, before sucking the blood, it diagnoses the blood. Is it suits its taste or not? Is it applicable for it or not? So that's why you may see so many people are there, but it only draws the blood of one person because that blood suits that vicious mosquito, subhanAllah. Not only that, you know how tiny the needle of the mosquito, so our blood is so thick, it will not flow through that tiny needle of the mosquito. What does it do? It has a feature in itself that liquefies the blood, make it so light that it can go through its straw. So look to how many systems within this tiny creature to secure its provision, how to suck the blood and to taste it and to see it's fit for it, liquefy the blood, and does all the hard work in order to securely suck the blood, subhanAllah. These tiny creatures, they say the wing flaps 300 to 600 times per second. When we say second, we say 1, 2, this is 1 second. So once you say 1, 2, that tiny creature flaps its wing almost 300 to 600 times. This tiny creature, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seriously, Allah has so fascinating way to make us really fascinated by His creation, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, we can go on and speaking about every creature. Every creature, if you go to the Discovery Channel, when they speak about some of these creatures, they spend maybe an hour and a half talking about one single creature. How it operates, how it runs its life, how it takes care of its children, its community, how every creature of this single species has a role in its existence, subhanAllah. So, not only that, also when we see the concept of spouse, that every creature must have a spouse, I mentioned to you earlier. So, a creature on its own, without a spouse, they cannot reproduce, right? So no matter how the Darwinian people try to explain to us that we are a product of evolution, explain to us how this spouse concept started, right? I mean, how long does that creature has to wait for blind coincidence to cause a spouse for it, right? So if that creature has to wait for so long and that spouse did not come, then that species will cease to exist. This single creature who resembles a species will cease to exist. Why? Because the spouse is not there. If we have a chicken, right, how long that chicken has to wait for the rooster to be caused by coincidence in order to have eggs, and then chicks comes out from these eggs, hatch from these eggs, and the generation of chicken will continue to grow. Apply this to every creature. Every creature needs this house. طيب, can you imagine this? How Darwinian evolution can explain this to us? They can't. They will throw to you stories and myths how this could have happened. Does it make sense? Is it scientific? No. Is it scientific? No, it's not scientific. To come and claim that, well, this single cell became 2, became 4, became 8, and so on, multiplied the number, and that cell decides to become this, and that cell decides to become to this, because they say from this single cell, all existing creatures have evolved. So you talk about bacteria, germs, birds, fishes, trees, animals in their diverse species, human beings, all evolved from this tiny single cell. طيب, this tiny single cell, when it became gradually into, let's say, again, a chicken. طيب, what about the rooster? When is he coming? When is coincidence is going to cause a rooster to come into existence in order for this poor chicken to marry him and then have children? Right? Apply this to every creature. Seriously, this is one of the very strong arguments you can hold against those people who are playing games with us. And it is seriously sad. We see people falling prey for their claims and arguments, when seriously what they're saying is not scientific whatsoever. So, like one time, one of those big atheists was asked then how life came into existence. He said there might be some kind of aliens out there who came into existence also through the means of Darwinian mechanism, and they caused our existence. Right? They, who caused them in the first place? Those aliens who are living somewhere out there. Wallah, these people, when it comes to justifying our existence, they look like fools. Although they have big titles, Professor so-and-so, Dr. so-and-so. I mean, this guy is saying some kind of aliens living out there who caused our existence, caused this planet with its multitude of creatures to come into existence. And what about those aliens? Who caused them in the first place to come into existence? For these people, wallah al-azim, the level of deception they are applying in deceiving people, it's wallahi beyond imagination. So, I mean, when it comes to the issue of let's say the issue of the egg or the chicken, who came first, right? If it's an egg, then that egg will hatch. It will be either a rooster or a hen, right? That hen, okay, will still have to wait for the spouse to come in order to continue its existence. طيب, that chicken, if we say that egg came first, we know that if you just do some search over the internet, that this egg needs to be moved, change its position. They say 3 to 4 times a day. You must flip it, right? In order for the egg to hatch and a living creature comes out of that egg. If you don't do that, that egg will fail to produce a living creature. Now, who's doing this? If we say the cell caused the egg to be first there, when there is no hen to do it, okay? Who's going to do this process in order for that egg to come out safely? So seriously, those people, when they claim such a thing, they cannot explain the issue of guidance of these creatures. You cannot explain it scientifically, because that issue, the issue of guidance, it's another level. It's beyond material. It's beyond material, right? So who's guiding these creatures? Like I said, some creatures who cannot move very quickly, like the turtles, for instance. And I've seen a documentary, subhanAllah, a turtle, Allah placed something in its mouth. It looks like a plant or something that attracts the fish to think that it is food for it. Once it gets into the fish, into the turtle's mouth, the turtle closes its mouth, and that's its food, subhanAllah. And now this guy cannot move very much, right? and how is he going to fight for his food? And then who made it possible for him, where he's staying, for food to come to him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you see it in your eyes. Every creature has a very amazing way of drawing the prey toward him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see the spider, how it makes its web, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and catches. You see every insect has its peculiar way of attracting the prey toward it. One of the trees which eats the insects, right? It opens like this, and it has like a needle. Once that creature touches that needle, it closes. Then it excretes some kind of chemicals where it digests that insect. So seriously, Allah is amazing us in a multitude of ways to make us think really that He is there, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I said, every creature has a story, wallahi ikhwan. When we look to the bees, Nahl, and how it operates, and how it runs, it's called hive, right? Hive? Hive. Yeah, bees hive. How it operates in there. How it builds it in a very hexagon shape, right? And this is the most fit shape in order for it to keep its eggs and honey. This is the most fit in which in a very small space you can use the entire space in a very optimal manner where you don't lose space. But who taught it in this precise, mashallah, hexagon shape hives they build?
Carries a lot of weight.
SubhanAllah, yes. It's amazing, wallahi. It's amazing. When you see, scientists speak about this issue, they themselves amaze you. Those who are even themselves atheists, they amaze you in explaining why this is the most fit, and how, in an amazing manner, these creatures are operating in such place. فوالله في كل شيء له آية تدل على أنه واحد. In everything he has a sign that speaks clearly that he is one, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can we be so blind of these signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Another issue is the Solomon, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Solomon, they say it travels 6,000 miles to go back to the place where it was born in order to hatch eggs. So to place its eggs. Can you imagine this? It was born there, moves 6,000 miles away, and then at the end, when it wants to deliver also, give eggs, it goes back to the same place. And you see the salmon flowing against the river flow, right? And maybe moving up even, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the bear is waiting for them there to hunt them, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seriously, every creature has a story in which it amazes you. Another fascinating creature is the sperm, the human sperm, the male sperm. When a man has a relation with his wife, that sperm, it is said, travels a distance which is 20,000 times its length. 20,000 times its length. It's like we traveling 34 kilometers. Imagine we travel 34 kilometers and we know where we're going. That sperm travels a distance which is to us like 34 kilometers. 20,000 times its length to go and meet the the female egg. And only one sperm goes through that egg, subhanAllah. And it takes like 30 minutes to days in order to travel that distance. Like, who told that somebody you should go in that direction? This is where you should head in order to cause the birth of another amazing creature who is caused by a single egg and a single sperm, and we have a full human being. Like, who guided this tiny creature to travel all that distance and knows its direction? Seriously, ikhwan, when we look into Allah's creation, there is no room for anyone to come and claim that this can happen by coincidence. I mean, every creature by coincidence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. How, mashallah, this coincidence is another God. I mean, that coincidence, we should call it God. Because it knows what it's doing. And has full knowledge, it has full ability to cause all these creatures to work in that amazing manner. And of course, if we just look to our human body, every organ has a story. Every organ amazes you how it works. Not only that, every organ connects with another organ in order to cause life and for that organ to operate in a very normal manner. So when you say we have eyes and we have ears, we need blood, we need air, we need so many things, right? And subhanallah, the nerve system, the arteries, the veins. If you just look at the arteries, how many arteries are inside your body? It was said that if you take the blood cells and you line them up that are within our human body, it will go around the earth, I don't know how many times, the blood cells in every human being. Wallahi, everything, I mean, it is operating in a very amazing manner. Seriously. I mean, if you just like use some of those signs and place them in a short video again or a post and show how it operates, maybe it may reach one of the youngsters out there who are disturbed by the atheist arguments or deceptive arguments and make him rethink what he's about. But let them see these signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when these people claim, again, let us go to their argument. When they say we are caused by evolution. Evolution is the reason of our existence. When we say to them, your evolution cannot explain how life started. Evolution cannot explain how life started scientifically, because they are scientists, right? Prove to us scientifically how life started. They cannot. They cannot. Also tell them, explain to us life. Life itself. Life, it's not just, matter working in time and space. Life is more than that. Life includes social life. Like I said, those creatures, how they operate, how they live together, how they run their world, how they take care of their kids, how they reproduce, how they sustain each other, and so on. This is life. How can evolution explain that? Okay. Again, they'll throw at you stories, bedtime stories, without presenting any scientific experiment. So again, the beginning of life, evolution cannot explain it. What life is, they cannot explain it. They can explain to you how genes work, how atoms work, how matter works, but life, and what life is all about, how life operates, how creatures work with each other, this is a matter beyond biology, right? Beyond substance. Evolution does not know how information is added to the gene, how the genome is holding information. Like we said, the DNA has these three CGTA, like enzymes or proteins, right? It forms information. It is coded in a way that forms information. Information about the color of our hair, the color of our eye, how big or small our eyes are, nose, ears, teeth, face, skin, internal organs, heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, brain, the bone, skin, all that, it is inside the gene. That information is stored there. So who coded that information? Darwinism cannot explain this. Do not know how this can happen. Even if they say this is happened through some mechanism, again, myth. No scientific evidence. They just throw things at your face and put big words there to make it sound scientific. But in real, they cannot explain this. How information is stored. Who caused that information to be placed there? Like I said to you, if you have a computer and you just have a short program to sum up two numbers, you for sure will say there is a good programmer who did that code that sums up two numbers. Just summing up two numbers. What about if you have a program that operates so much applications in there? It has an operating system, it has so many applications that work in a fascinating manner. You cannot say this is caused by coincidence. They'll mock you if you say such a thing, right? Well, the human cell is more sophisticated than this. Bill Gates said DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created. This is a programmer who knows really what programming is. And he's telling us the DNA is far, far complicated as a program than any other available program. So if you say this program that we see in the laptops are complicated, the DNA is way, way complicated. So if the program had a programmer, then this DNA had a coder who did it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another thing is the issue of the minimum gene concept. Those atheists, when they claim that the first cell was caused by coincidence, it is said to them that you must have a minimal number of genes for that cell to be a living cell. If you have a number less than that, then that cell cannot continue living. So to them, the life started in that cell from gene 0. Number of genes 0, right? There was no genes, then all of a sudden, genes started to form by coincidence. So the science is telling them we must have at least 260 plus genes at the beginning, at least that, in order for life to start in that cell, to have a living cell. If you have less than that, you cannot have a living cell. And those genes are really complex. I mean, if you just to say gene came by coincidence, this is as if you're saying the entire factory came by coincidence. An entire factory was built on its own. So how can you throw such claim, coincidence caused this cell to come to existence? So the minimum gene concept disproves Darwinism and the story of evolution. And another issue is they say the cell itself, like I said, is very complex. I mean, if the gene itself, the DNA itself is complex, the entire cell is additional complexity added. So if you're going to say how complex that cell is, I mean, as the most complex factory you see on Earth is nothing close to that cell. That cell operates on its own. Where does it bring its energy from? Where does it sustain itself? On its own. Who placed all that, subhanAllah, in that tiny cell? So it must provide energy for itself in order to operate. Where is it getting its energy from? So the mean of getting energy into the cell, that's another story, subhanAllah. And what goes inside the nucleus of that cell, the DNA, and how the DNA is forming the mRNA, the messenger RNA. And when you look into biology, like I recall when we were in high school, it is, I mean, how they communicate and how they transmit information and all that. I mean, who did that? And can really coincidence do such a thing? I mean, those people who say coincidence did this, tell them, I mean, this big factory, which is so complex, if I tell you it came on its own, what will you say to me? You make me an object of mockery before everyone, right? Then how can you throw such audacious claim and you go with it? Nobody holds you, and nobody even laughs at you. Subhanallah. Another issue, of course, this is some of the arguments to disprove the Darwinian evolution. They said that the fossil record, they don't have an intermediate beings that prove that this is how it started. They say, based on the fossils, we see life just started. We don't see a very primitive creatures and then it became more advanced and more. We don't see this trace. We don't trace that. We see life and existing living things started all of a sudden. And there are several of them, not only one at the same time. This is, they call it the Cambrian era, the Cambrian time. And it's like the Big Bang, how they claim it started this entire cosmos. They say the Cambrian explosion started life. So based on these scientists, they say almost 540 million years ago, life started through these primitive creatures. It started with the cell, and then more creatures evolved from that single cell. So they say before this period of time, before 540 million years ago, we see that there are creatures found, and there are many of them, and this is the first level of creatures through fossils were traced, and there are multitude of them. They could not, when they try to go any further before, they see no life whatsoever. They see no life whatsoever. So back to this era where creatures started to grow in number, they say it started all together at the same time. It's not that one tiny creature, then from there in the next hundreds of thousands or millions of years we see another creature evolving. No, that time where from there more creatures came, there were several of them. There were many creatures who were there. So this Cambrian explosion really, it exposes them. It shows that life started with so many creatures. It's not one creature, then it became more creatures. So to them it is, the tree started from one creature and then it branched, right? Well, the Cambrian explosion it proves it's the opposite. That more creatures started and then it branched, not one single creature. So this issue also, the trace of fossils and all that disprove evolution. That if you say that it started with one creature, well, fossils proves that there were the earliest fossils found, which is the claim it is 540 million years old. There were many creatures, not of different species, not one species only evolving. Inshallah ta'ala, later on we'll go into more detail about the Darwinian claim and so on. But here, because they are using the proof of Darwinian process to say that this guidance that we see, they say it is a product of the Darwinian evolution. But here we prove that Darwinian evolution has nothing to do with that whatsoever. And these fascinating features that we see in every creature must be created by a great, able, knowledgeable Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the third proof, the guidance argument. Okay, Dalilul Hidayah, the guidance argument, and how we can use it strongly to disprove the position of the atheists who deny Allah's existence. Again, every creature is an amazing sign that we can use to make those people look like fool, wallah. Because how can you claim that this issue, I mean, when it comes to knowledge, it has nothing to do with biology. Knowledge has nothing to do with biology. It's a totally different realm, right? Biology cannot cause, material cannot cause knowledge. But where did this knowledge come? Where did this natural instinct that you see in every creature, knows how it protects itself, knows how it provides for itself, knows how it reproduces, and so on. So this behavior, who taught it how to do all that? SubhanAllah. From day one, the child, when he's born, and his mother carries him and places his mouth next to her breast, he sucks milk immediately, without any prior training. Without any prior, this process, I mean, if you tell you this is a straw, suck some water from this bottle using the straw. If you are a child, you will not be able to know how to do that. But subhanallah, a child for the first time he sees this issue. Okay, I mean, like a few days old and so on. But when it comes to the breast, immediately he sucks the milk. Subhanallah, he knows that. Like who instilled in that child that when you're close to the nipple of the breast of your mother, you suck the milk, subhanAllah, without any prior education? Seriously, ikhwan, I mean, we have strong arguments to stand really proud and confident before these people. But media, when it comes to this issue, and they say we have a debate between a creationist and an atheist. Creationists in the West, those who prove Allah's existence, right? Or in the Islamic world, they bring two people, an atheist, a person who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they'll bring a very sophisticated, well-learned atheist who has a big position in his country maybe. On the other hand, when it comes to a person who believes in Allah, they bring someone who is less articulate, less confident, he's not known, and when they start debating, he looks so weak, right? And those people who have less iman, when they look at this debate, they say, oh, see, the atheist, he has strong arguments. He's speaking with words which sound scientific, when in reality they are not scientific. When someone tells you we came through evolution is not scientific, was never proven scientifically. So how can you claim that this is science? So this is how they're deceiving people. They throw words at you, makes it sound scientific, and what's your proof? And he'll bring you a list of books. No matter how many books you bring before me from here to China, show me one experiment in these books that proves that evolution can be proven through experiment. Because you guys claim that you are science believers, right? You only believe in science. Now show me one experiment. Or you are a person who is basing his belief, his convictions on myths that has no ground. When you say the Muslims, when they believe in something, they are believing in the issue of the unseen, right? Which is not scientific. How can we follow their method or way in running life? We say to them, well, we have seen the signs that proves to us what's in the unseen. We have seen enough evidences of the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we believe in Him. But you guys, you believe in the unseen without any proof whatsoever. We have enough proofs to stand before you and say there is a great creator who we see his signs in every creature around us, subhanAllah. Be proud, ya ikhwa, be confident, and let us contribute in this regard in order to convey these strong arguments to our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. At the same time, let it flow beyond the Muslim land. Let it reach the West. The West, people living in the West, wallahi, they are so confused. And they are eager for the knowledge that we have. Spiritually speaking, they have so much vacuum. They need it. Wallahi, when you look over the internet, many of them, when they just open the Quran, read it without any intervention from any Muslim whatsoever, they get convinced that this is the statement of the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. It makes sense to them. Let us have a share in this agri subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of just watching people becoming Muslim, which is eye-pleasing, we want to collect also the reward of guiding those people, subhanAllah. So let us do our best in sharing information as wide as possible, in a multitude of forms, in order to attract people to this haqq, inshallah ta'ala. طيب, barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullah khairan. If you have any questions, ikhwa, regarding the topic, please feel free to ask.
The verse in which Allah says, "Inna Allah la yastahi an yadhlimu mathalan ma ba'udatin fawqa ba'd." Can we use this verse to state the scientific facts of the mosquito?
Yes. In fact, this is a strong evidence that Allah, when He presents this information about this ba'udah, subhanAllah, it is to fascinate us in His creation. Yes, this ayah can be used. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي أَنْ يَضْرِبَ مَثَلًا مَا بَعُوضَةً فَمَا فَوْقَهَا. And many ayat you can use in the Quran about the nahl, the bees, about the al-baqarah, it excretes milk. The baqarah takes grass from one side, milk comes from the other side. Pure milk, yani, subhanAllah. So isn't this amazing? Yani, in fact, this grass mixed with blood and other excretion, but from it comes pure milk, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pure, yani, healthy milk in which we can consume and drink, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seriously, yes, we can use the ayat of the Quran, but be careful. Sometimes people use ayat of the Quran and claim that this is something found 1400 years back, and it talks about a scientific theory, like the Big Bang. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. They said this is the Big Bang. No, it's not the Big Bang. It's totally different. Be careful of such issues. So make sure that if you're going to use an ayah, a living creature, yes, it's a sign for us to reflect and ponder when we see the biological nature, the social life of that creature, and how it operates. It is a sign for us to be guided to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But to use such ayat in a scientific theory, this is very, very dangerous. It can backfire at us. So be careful. Barakallahu fikum.
Sheikh, you said from one cell, many organisms, that's evolution. And then you said there's another theory from a lot of organisms were there before.
Right.
What was the theory you said?
No, the Cambrian explosion.
Cambrian
Explosion. This is a time, they call it the Cambrian era. This is 540 million years almost ago. How do they go and understand life? They look into the fossils. And for instance, you have a big mountain which has made up from levels through time. That mountain grew in height, right? So they go all the way down and look to the lowest level in which they can find creatures, a living creature. So the lowest back in time, it was this Cambrian time. And when they went back to there, they did not find only one creature. They rather found so many creatures, multitude of species available. So they said this defeats the idea of one creature evolved into many. Okay, because it all started from many creatures. Then where is Darwinian evolution here? We cannot, this seriously, defeats the idea of one creature. Life started from one creature and then grew up in number يعني. طيب بارك الله فيكم يا اخوي جزاكم الله خير. Inshallah, I will share with you the charts like I did with the previous. Did you all get the charts?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Just done this.
I just I've sent 2 so far, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
2 and 1 PDF file with the Arabic notes.
Yes. So try to use some information and do something similar as well. Let us spread the deen, inshallah. Defend our deen. Barakallahu.